Hey everyone, this is Milo with the Lexus YouTube channel. I am going to do some extra clearancing for big tires, and originally I did the body relocate mount and the pinch weld bend, but that was not enough for my application. I still rub a little bit when I'm flexing and doing the hard trails. So this video is going to be a how I did it, in case you're wondering yourself. So here we go. First thing, you're going to start removing the trim, and this is for both sides. The driver has a lot of wiring, so you got to be super careful back there when you're cutting on the fender side. So we're going to pull this piece of trim out of the way, this piece of trim, then we're going to pull all this carpet back and we're going to see what's there. So, just like the driver's side, we do have quite a bit of electrical. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a razor knife and I'm going to cut this rubber padding out that goes up under this side, and I may not even put it back, but you got to get rid of some of this, because once you get to welding on the back side, it's going to get real hot in there. So that's next. Side point, this is my Gerber straight edge pocket knife, and I absolutely love this knife. I didn't know if I'd like it or not, but this is great. I do a lot of electrical wiring, and for cutting the stripping wires and whatnot, fantastic knife. And to keep it sharp, I just run it through one of those kitchen V-blocks about 20-25 times every couple days, and she stays on point. Okay. Alright. How far up in there does that go? I may just go ahead and pull this glove box out, guys. It's not a big deal. Disconnect the blue. Perfect time to use one of my favorite tools. These guys right here are so nice for grabbing electrical connections, working them out. There we go. 1, 2, 3. And that part's out. Now, what am I forgetting here? Well, maybe I'll just stop there. I think that's plenty. Just that under piece. Next, this thing is bolted in pretty well. Good Lord, it goes way up. So what I might end up doing is cutting across and down and just removing this area. Wish I was left-handed sometimes. Okay. And you just gotta, at a certain point, rip. This stuff has got to be gone, or you're gonna have unnecessary flames. There we go. Okay. Basically, we want to see all of this metal pretty clearly, because what I do is when I start cutting on the inside, I put a lamp or something inside here so that I can tell when I've gone through, and I barely want to go through, because the last thing you want to do is touch any of this harness that's back in here. Also, you have a less chance of hurting it, but your drain tube is coming down from the sunroof right behind all this stuff in the pocket. Oddly enough, it drains right into the rocker area, which I was kind of surprised to notice when I cut mine open on the other side, but I didn't have any rust, so I guess it's okay. So anyway, we've got room here. Now it's time to open up the other side, which is getting the tire off, lifting the truck, getting it on jack stands, yada yada. Anybody else out there running these Nito trail grapplers, the MTs? I am about to put new tires on this truck, and in a couple weeks, I already ordered them. If you drive your truck kind of as a daily, they're okay. I got about now let me take that back. These are great tires. They're absolutely fantastic. I've got about 40,000 miles on these now. They've been to Colorado, they've been to Moab, they've done everything I've asked, and I've never gotten a puncture. Not one fix on these tires. Never busted a bead. I am switching to the mud terrains though this time, just for something a little different. These are the 11.5s, and I am adding spacers, which is why I've got to cut this area out, and because when I am flexed max in a turn slightly, this area here is all up in this, and you can get away with it, especially with low air pressure, but I prefer less rub, and I have the ability with the tools and the welder and all that mess to just get this done. So that's what I'm doing. Anyway, if you've ever thought about getting trail grappler MTs, I highly recommend them. These days I only drive this truck about 10% of my daily use, so I decided to go with the even softer compound for off-roading with my new ones. Set up my little knee saver. Just noticing I've got a broken center cap. When I do the tires on this thing, which is something I hate doing, I do not take it off the ground more than I have to, because these things weigh 100 pounds a piece, and I don't like lifting that. It's just no fun. 2, 4, 5, 6. By the way, if anybody wants a set of trail grapplers with about 30% left. You know what to do. So I've already relocated and I've done the pinch weld, but as you can see, I'm getting a lot of rub in here. So it's time to do extra. And this, by the way, I made this out of boat trailer bunk material. It's a hard plastic that's 3.5 inches wide and it folds, and I just cut the little sections and I made my own fender liner, excuse me. And it really works. Just be careful where you're putting your screws in, because on the inside, in your engine area, you do have things. All right, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this to about the top here. I'm taking the fender off, and then I'm going to get to hacking. All right, so all I need out of the way, tuck this back over here so it doesn't get in my way even more. So you got a little plug here, and what I think that is access to the drain plug. See, there's your drain inside of there. That is from your sunroof. I don't know how that helps you, having that little tiny access, but there it is. So here's the piece from the other side, and I had to take it out in a couple of different pieces because she's in there pretty good. A little trick I like to do is do one side first before I video the second one, so I look like I know what I'm doing. And that doesn't mean I'm saying I do. Just for the comments. I don't really have any haters yet. My channel's too small, but I'm sure they'll come, like Dan. And that could go for either of you Dans, and you know who you are. Right? So to get the actual fender flare off, now this is different for everyone because my truck has already been cut and chopped all up, but you've got 2 screws down here, you've got push pins and double-sided tape all the way around here. So for the fender, you're going to need 10 mil. And I believe a screwdriver. So right up under here, you got 10 millimeter that's also a screwdriver, and this one is oddly enough 1/4 inch. I remember that from the other side. And then you've got up in there, there's another screw. There's a push pin right here, and then there is glue, double-sided glue all the way around here that you have to sacrifice, as well as your typical Toyota push pop pins there. So if you're gonna do this, have some 3/16 or 1/4 inch 3M tape ready for redoing that when you go back. we've got this all clearance or out of the way. And as you could see from prior adjustments that I've made, this has all been cut. But next thing I'm going to do is, because I am trying to get clearance way back here, so I'm cutting this fender pretty much off all the way up to about here, maybe there. That's plenty. And then I may, well, this has been rolled pretty good. Probably just leave that like it is, but this is going to be gone through here. It's still plenty strong. I'm also going to remove this bottom bolt here to give this fender loose, so that it's not necessarily in my way, and I'm able to cut this lower part without banging my saw into anything under here. So we're going to get at that. Wrong tool. This one has got the sanding disc on it. By the way, I'm not sponsored by Milwaukee, but if you're listening, I sure would love that. I use like everything M18 that you own, or that you make. Excuse me. And they're a good product, except for a couple of issues with batteries, but I suppose that's kind of gonna happen. All right. So the next part I just kind of guessed on, because I can kind of see where the issues are. So I made a triangular pattern and encompassed all of that area, and then came down back through here. And that's what I'm going to attempt again. But again, you know, you got your hose in there, so you don't want to go too deep. And there is electrical, so you have to be kind of shallow with your cutting and stuff. The cutoff wheel is your friend. Just you're going to go through a lot of them if you're using it. But I've got Sawzall, thin cutoff, jigsaw. I think that's it as far as cutting stuff. Yeah. So anyway, this is going to take a little while, so I'll check back in a bit. Put my lamp on the inside like I said I would, so I can see if I'm cutting through. That way you keep an eye on it and you can start to see where you're getting through. Alright, so we're gonna go farther over there. So this is the plate that I used on the other side. I can't remember. I guess it goes that way. But I'm going to go a little different this time. This is the piece of metal that's going in. And yes, it's stainless. And yes, you can weld stainless with regular welder. So now I'm coming. So make sure that I don't get too big. I got plenty of room. So don't think that once I get this done it's coming out of there, because there's double layers, so there's a lot more to this than what it appears. I know that there's electric right behind this area, so very careful. Would not be good. So I found that if you cut right down this pinch weld where they're two are coming together, it does relieve a little bit of this metal. I'm starting to get to where I can pry some of it out of the way. Anyway, continue cutting. Let go. There you go. Yeah, there's no way to do this other than cut stuff out slowly and don't damage your electrical harness or catch your truck on fire. That's very important when you start welding. Stuck, but starting to see something. Now you see why this is super important to take your time. I'm going to cut this way next and see if I can get this flap out of the way. Looks like we're time for a new wheel. Let's see what wants to move. This is a lot of work to get maybe an inch if I'm lucky. That's what she said. Alrighty, I can see what I got to do there now. So we've got a little more access now. We got this panel out of the way. I still have a weld across here that I'm going to somehow come up under this edge and get that out of the way. And then my plan is to cut this right down on the outside of this roll so that I can knock this in a little bit, and that way, so this can flatten out a little bit, and then I will weld that back in this direction here. I'm going to try to keep this panel as flat as I can so I don't have to beat the living tar out of it to make it fit on here. Even though once you start to get your tacks in place, you can kind of form it. But that's a piece that stainless is pretty hard, so it doesn't like to take to its beating as well as some metal. But anyway, I'm gonna carefully cut on this and get this out of the way without hitting any of this, and cut that seam, and we'll be looking pretty good. This is actually not too bad because I can see what I got to do and just avoid touching that. In fact, I got a little plan. Put this wire harness, pull it back a little bit. Not hurting anything, I don't think. Alright, here we go. Soft metal. That are getting rusty. This truck's approaching 20 years old. It's in relatively good shape considering. Alright, next I gotta neatly cut this. I can put my fingers back here until there's nothing in the way, but I don't want to go too deep. So, alright. Time to get the persuaders. Extra small, medium, and large persuaders. Let's see. Accidentally hit that one. Next thing I've got to do is start creating my patch panel. Also deciding whether or not I want to cut that back anymore. I kind of want to keep this structure, and I have gained, I've probably gained from original, I'm back probably 2.5 inches, but in this last chop, I think with the plate on there and everything, we're probably going to gain about 1 inch, which going from 11.5 inch tires to 12.5 inch this time with a 1 inch spacer, she's still going to rub a little bit when I'm flexed out, but it's going to be a lot more manageable. Alright, so now we have our area that we're going to patch now. We've, cut out the pinch weld that sticks out pretty aggressively through here. What a little trick that I like to use is like a piece of cardboard or something that is relatively close to the right size, and what you want to do is kind of start in one area and just give it a press. Don't let it move, but you want to press where you're touching that metal and take it off, and you can see where you've got a form. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut along that line. And I'm going to go back after that. Alright, that has a little dip. I can't see very well, so I'm not going to cut it out yet. But this comes up and around this corner, and it goes right up here. Alright, so now we're going to set that right where it lines up, and we're going to go a little farther. See what we got going. It's farther in, which is good. If you mess up, like I've got a little corner here that I don't like, but I can hammer that in and make that work on my patch. Plus, this is only to get your metal kind of close, because after this, you're gonna do the same thing with the metal piece, but you're gonna try to be a lot more precise. This is just to get my metal in kind of started. Alright, we are not bad. And let's see, that goes a little more. Although, once we start hammering this in with the metal, you know, we could make it bend a little more in, and we might want that little extra space. So I can see I'm going to take just a little more of this. And a slight overlap on some of these areas is not so bad, especially up here, because it makes it easier to stitch. Well, this metal is very light, both my patch panel and the part that is the truck part, and you got to go low on your voltage, extremely low as I can get on mine, and pretty slow wire, and you'll burn through if you sit on it. So you want to be aware that you got to do it. You got to do that. So we're not bad. At this point, I'm going to start to hammer and bend this thing a little bit, and when I get it kind of laying in here good, I'll probably go back and forth from the grinder a few more times and get this more precise. Also, I'm going to have to sand everything around this edge to get good metal. This is obviously not going to be a problem making an arc. No. I really need to go farther. I need to take this out. Jeez. hitting right there. And we're gonna try a much bigger hammer. Well, that actually worked. Yeah, okay. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and sand around all this and get this prepped for welding, because I might go ahead and just start tacking this in and hammering it into place. This metal is unbelievably thin in some of these places here, and especially up here. You just got to go really slow. Tiny little tacks. Every now and then you better check, make sure the inside's not on fire. So once you get enough strength in your welds, you can hammer this stuff right on in to contour. And like this area where there's just tons and tons of body sealer, I'm not going to weld too much there, but I'm going to get close to it on both sides, and then I'm going to seam seal everything inside and out if I can, best I can, and that way we're strong and we're not leaking. We don't want to add water to the equation any more than we normally do with our lousy door seals. Those are our hardest workers.
Is this only 2 days?
Maybe 3 days.
Look.
Let me see. Good grief.
And it's there's a down there, and then
This is what we're talking about.
it's scattered.
Our hardest workers on the farm here.
It's scattered, like.
That's 4 birds. They are working. Or maybe we're just too lazy to collect the eggs every day. One of those. Alright. Back inside for a fire check. Alright, we're all done welding. We're gonna lightly hit this to get any of the sharp spots off the top, and then we're gonna brush on it and get the oxidation or whatever that is off so that we can put seam sealer on it. Just realized that I forgot to put tacks up here, so I'm going to come back, and where I split this and pushed it back, I need to put at least a couple tacks for strength. So over the years I've done a little bit of welding here and there. I've done, I guess you could say a lot, but I'm by no means a welder. Not enough to, you know, invest a lot of money in a welder and that kind of thing. But I did recently take advantage of Black Friday and picked up the Harbor Freight Titanium 140, which does 4 different things: MIG, TIG, arc, and it will weld aluminum if you buy the spool for it, which I've never done, and I know I'd be terrible at it. But that's what I'm using, and honestly I can't complain. I'm using a gasless flux core wire, and as you can see, it does pretty good. Super strong. Anyway, I'm going to put a couple tacks on this cut right here, and then we're going to be ready to add our seam sealer, and we're going to let it dry overnight and be back on this tomorrow. Right when I say that, the wire gets stuck. Let me get a pair of pliers. There we go. That should do it. What in the world? I don't know whether this thing is acting funny. There she goes. That's a little better. I'm going to take a peek on the inside. There's just a little bit I can hit in there where I can see it. But that's pretty much it for that part. Tomorrow, once that's dry, we'll put the fender liner back, re-glue and add the fender flare back, put the wheel back on with the new spacer, and see how we clearance. Good morning. It's the next day. We're going to take a look, see how everything is, get you guys a little closer. So this is dry to the touch now. It's still a little rubbery, but everything looks good. From the side profile, it was about probably here before, so I mean about an inch that we've gotten back. What we're gonna do is we're gonna just kind of clean this edge up where that glue, double-sided tape needs to go back. We're gonna try to scrape that off, both on this as well as the fender flare. I'm gonna flip this over on the table here, get this old piece off of here. Gosh, this was now I'm seeing this is actually a rubber that had a really thin glue, but I am not rebuying that. I put the other side back on just with double-sided tape and it worked great. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to clean this up and re-stick it. They do make a racer wheel for those of you that are kind of in the body business. You know this. Mine sat around for so long that it's pretty much hard as a rock, and this is not a lot of work to just do it like this. And if you're wondering, I do have body background. I was before I got back into the family company of marine construction, I was doing paintless dent removal, and I did that for, well, I've done it for 20 some years now. Oh, by the way, I guess you're noticing my my stash. Since it's Christmas time, I thought I would, look presentable for Christmas parties and go with the extra cool look. I know it is extra cool. I get it. All right, off to the fender. The fender flare part. This is pretty much good to go. Gosh, I got lucky on this one. The last one had a lot more gunk and goop, old glue to remove. Alright, so after you do that with the chemical, you do want to take a dry part of the towel and wipe the surface to get any of the chemical away. This particular fender flare has a tiny little edge, so you want to be sure that your tape doesn't touch or go over that. You want it to be right next to it, because it basically takes up the space, the height wise of the tape, so that when you use the tape, it kind of covers the edge looking down from the top, and it makes it so you can't see that there's tape there. Makes it more seamless looking. You just want to neatly press that in right next to that lip. I'm just kind of lightly pressing it in here now, and then once I have it where I'd like it, I'm gonna press it a lot harder. Alright, so that's just one section, but I'm doing that piece as well, and then we're gonna take it over and press it into place. Right. this back down into the front there. That was pretty easy. And we're gonna line up that first tab. Second. Okay, we've got pretty much everything is aligned. Kind of feel around for all those holes to line up, and don't want to press anything in yet. We're gonna make sure that they all look like they will. Knife and pull the red plastic off of the tape just a little bit. Okay, so once you get this started, then you can go ahead and start popping these into place. Put your knife away so you don't slice yourself. Okay, I'm gonna go a little at a time. Pop those back, and as you can see, she's going right home, and that tape is already doing its trick. You're gonna have to put a little extra pressure here and there. You can see where it needs to be. Don't go too fast. This tape will get kind of tight, and you don't want it to break in there before you get it out. So you know it's going to be in the right spot. You go ahead and pull all that off, as well as this one before you get too far. I like to go down here underneath. Bottom. Alright. Pull that piece. Next, we're going to locate that body pin. She popped right in. Now, you can actually look underneath and see that these clips are seating properly. And they are. Gotta love a Toyota, man. Years ago, of course, I said I was in the car business, and man, I worked on used cars. I'm not gonna get into that, but some of them are just junk. And it was a nightmare to have to take anything apart and expect it to not break in your hands when you were doing it. Toyotas, definitely one of my favorite cars to work on in the past. Alrighty, so that's pretty good. I've just got to put those couple of bolts back in, and then I'm going to reattach my fender liner that I homemade fender liner. I'll reattach this. I'm going to have to do some modification cuts to where it goes down into here. And once I get that back, we'll check back in. So we've got bolts here, tab here. I was mistaken when I said there was a bolt up under this spot earlier, and there is not. So you don't have to. It's just got this tab, from what I remember, and it's push pins that hold that, and the double-sided tape. So, all right, we're gonna check back in a few minutes once I get this fender liner. That's that. So let's put it on the ground and we'll look. All right, we're gonna head back to the Lexus proving grounds behind the house here. We're gonna sneak through here and get down in this ditch and see what our clearances are looking like. Alright, that should be pretty flexed. She's pushing hard on the steering. Let's jump out and see what we got. She's still tight. unfortunately it's putting so much pressure on the wheel, it's turning the steering wheel a little bit, but I think it's still gonna probably rub a little tiny bit, but it's not gonna be anything like it used to. And I'm not certain, but let's see. I think that some of my tire chew, like this, may have been caused by the old pinch weld just kind of rubbing on it in certain times when I'm turning. The next thing I'm going to be doing, let's see if it's showing, is we're not there, but my extended bump stops from Duro Bump, when they hit the axle here, and I don't know whether it's the Dana or if it's I did move it forward about 1/4 inch the other day because it kept sliding off. But anyway, I'm gonna make little beds, little flat beds, where those will sit flat when I'm articulated to, you know, far enough to put a lot of pressure on those. So anyway, that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you haven't, please like and subscribe. I try to give a few minutes after I say that, or at least a few seconds, so that people have time to do that if they feel like it. I certainly would appreciate it. I don't add a lot of content because I like to do the off-roading thing and show you guys that, but every now and then I do some mods on the truck and feel like they're worth sharing. I've done so many mods on this truck before I got into filming. It's a shame because this thing is very modified, and one of these days, hopefully real soon, we're going to do a walk around video and show all that stuff. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you on the next time.